Three completely silent, unidentified aircrafts flew over my head, just 25 feet above me. Welcome to Paranormal Christian. Let's tell stories. This was around 2020. It was around the time of the pandemic. I can't pinpoint exactly, but I know that we were still living in the house before the current one. And so it puts us about that time frame. And I had gone out one evening into the yard actually because we knew that you were able to see Jupiter extremely bright, and I wanted to go out and see Jupiter. My family had already gone to bed. I should say that a few nights before this, I had been in our backyard, actually sitting on our trampoline. We had one of the big trampolines in our backyard, and it was dark. And as I looked toward the north, I saw it looked like a little green or yellow ball of light, and it was coming straight toward me. It was getting larger, it was getting larger, it was getting larger till it disappeared. I since have tried to convince myself that it was a lightning bug, a firefly, and maybe it was. When I was looking at it, I've looked at fireflies my entire life and caught a whole bunch of them in jars at my grandma and grandpa's when I was a kid. This thing, the type of straight line that it flew in, what it did for the amount of time that it did, the way it appeared, the way it left, I'm not quite sure what I was looking at. And so I already had some things on my mind. And we get this report that you're going to be able to see Jupiter. And so I had gone out our front door and I was standing just beyond the porch. We had a little sidewalk that ran by a flower bed. My best friend actually lives in the same house now. And so I'm standing out there, I'm looking toward Jupiter, I'm looking at the sky, waiting, watching, not really waiting on anything, just watching and observing, looking at the stars, these kinds of things. And suddenly I see motion in the distance. I see something, if I'm looking kind of just a few inches up at an incline from eye level, it would have put it about 25 feet above the ground. And I can make out some dark lines. I can make out something that's in the distance and it's moving toward me. And I didn't have any kind of weird thoughts on my mind. I just thought, what is this? And so it keeps moving closer. It keeps moving closer. And as it starts to get quite close, like within 100 yards or so, I realize that there are three, I'll call them aircrafts. I don't know what else to call them. If you remember years ago, people drove a pipe frame dune buggy. How many of you remember pipe frame dune buggies? Maybe somebody still drives them somewhere, I don't know. But, it was an entire car built out of a pipe frame, and they would take them to, to the sand dunes, to flats, to beaches, and they would ride. It was a lot of fun. And so the best way that I can describe this, it reminded me of a pipe frame craft. Now, I'm also well aware that people have small personal aircrafts, like the parasail, the fan on their back, and they can fly, or there's the kind that looks like a little go-kart. A friend of mine has one. He's been flying this thing for a couple of years. And he actually switched to a two-seater. He's supposed to take me up if he's watching. James, I need a ride. But anyway, the type of thing that I was seeing, it reminded me of that. Here is the problem. It was silent. There was no sound of any kind. And so I watched, and it stayed at the same height. It did not have a parasail above it. It did not have wings. I say it. As it came closer, I realized there were three of them, and they were flying in a triangle formation. There was one in the front, and then two off of off the back corners. And so I'm watching, and as it gets closer, in my brain, I'm not thinking, UFO. I'm not thinking spaceship. First of all, this was only about 25 foot in the air off of the ground. There was nothing spectacular to see. There were no lights of any kind. I'm having to look to make out what seemed like a pipe frame structure, sort of. And as they get closer and closer, there's no engine. There's no engine running. There's no engine. There's no descent. There's no parasail. There's no glide wings like a hang glider, anything that I can see to keep them up in the air. And I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel strange. My brain still had not gone to, extraterrestrial UFO spaceship kind of stuff. I was just thinking, I was just trying to figure it out. And so the three of these, they are coming closer and closer and closer until they get right over me. And I can see that they are very close to the ground, 25, 30 foot. Maybe they could have been a little more, but not much. And they flew all the way over the top of me. And I turned and looked, and I watched them. I watched them fly all the way away. My question is this. Probably there's a good explanation. There's probably something that I'm unaware of that can answer this very, very quickly. It has been on my mind lately with the popularity of the UFO craze right now. We've been talking about that on other episodes of Paranormal Christian, a lot of UFO files being declassified by the Pentagon. And it's got me thinking back, just wondering about all kinds of different things. Again, there was never a feeling of fear. I never felt afraid. I never even sensed there was something strange going on. I guess mostly I'm just curious. Can somebody tell me what kind of a craft maybe a person and a couple of their buddies were out flying with no engine of any kind? Is it possible for it to glide without a gliding parasail and without descending? And so it just cruised right over the top of me very, very slowly. If I had to judge, I would think, 10 or 15 miles per hour. And because it was close enough and I could gauge it pretty well, that's probably about what it was. And then they just cruised off into the distance. I'm so curious what it was. I don't necessarily think it was an alien. Maybe somebody out there owns one of these, and you can tell me how that's possible. You can tell me what it was. Or maybe I saw something really, really strange and I just didn't get the scared feeling. Maybe you have a story that's similar. We want to hear your story. We want to hear about extraordinary things that happen to ordinary people, a judgment-free zone just to share the story. And so if you'll send me a story, with your permission, I will share the story right here on Paranormal Christian. Would you mind to subscribe to us right now on your favorite platform or the platform that you're watching, whether that is TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook? I had to remember what the fourth one was. And would you mind to go and visit paranormalchristian.com, and you can check out more information there. There's a lot of good merch. If you want to support Paranormal Christian, help us to get out more stories. We are not about sensationalism. We are not about the occult. We do not endorse occult activity. We do not endorse the pursuit of weird spiritual things that probably we shouldn't be dabbling in. We just believe there should be a place for honest people to share honest stories about the experiences that we have had. And so we are dedicated to truth, to critical thinking, and to great storytelling. And so keep those stories coming and keep them PC. We'll see you next time on Paranormal Christian.